Hello, welcome to a new live stream. And today I wanted to show you once again a new website built from scratch and a few other things that can be added to a page and how to structure a multi-page website. So this is the plan. The idea is to make a restaurant website. So I downloaded a bunch of assets here that we can look at, a few different things. So I have a few SVG images which are useful for site graphics. I downloaded just an inspiration. I have a few meal images, and but I had this inspiration image for a restaurant website. So this is more or less what I would like to build. We don't actually need to view it any closer. It's the idea that counts. The general feel and mood, and we can go from there. So let's start with a new website, and the idea is to make it fully fleshed out and see all the ins and outs that go with that. So my inspiration image, I'll just leave it open right here. And so let's start with the heading section. So this, I like this idea of having the logo at the center here. I don't think we have a logo. We can probably use this SVG here, but the idea is to have on the left side one set of menu items and on the right side another set of menu items. So let's start with the black heading, which is straightforward. Sparkle's menu has is a very flexible component. It can scale from automatically adding items as you add pages. So suppose I add a new page here. You see the menu has a new page here. So this is useful for when you want to build you want to let Sparkle manage the menu, but for more complex sites, eventually it runs out of the ability to make things automatically, because most of the time your menu items will end up bumping on the right edge of the page here, so they won't fit anymore. So in that case, for example, you could make the menu vertical, and here you can add items forever, of course. So you could leave the auto add pages checkbox checked. But for a classic menu that extends horizontally, you very quickly run out of space. So, for example, one case where you do not run out of space for a horizontal menu is if you add a page inside a section. So I say I add a page in section 1. This becomes a sub-menu here. So if I add, a few pages inside this section here, you can see it did not extend horizontally because all the pages were automatically added within a section, which is the section sub-menu. However, this is not, again, not something we're building now. So what we'll do now is just to manually manage the menu here. And so I'll just place this up here. The size of the menu here, this is one tip that's interesting. If you make this the fill color transparent, which is probably something you want to do right away, and then set, say, this the text color to white, and we can leave this font for now. So the height of the menu here, menu element, seems indifferent. You could make it any height, but what actually happens is this is the mouse hover area. So if we go to our preview, you see the whole area here becomes highlighted. So we can control how much of this becomes highlighted by sizing this, even though it doesn't immediately appear to make any difference. So, and we can make the hover color white and the text color black in this case. So this would be effect we like. Let's go back to our inspiration. I don't know if we can see what it had. I don't know, features. Anyway, we can just add a few sections and mix and match. The benefit of manually managing the menu, so having this disabled, is we can add some menu items which link or reference further down in the page, and we can have other menu items which reference other pages. So, for example, my home is just going to stay my home page, but if I want to add, say, cuisine, I can have this go to my home page again, page 1, and then have it scroll to some position in the page. So this is 2 menu items, and the first one links to the home page, which isn't obvious what the difference is right now. But so suppose I build a new page, which is this time for real, which is my chef page. So this is my restaurant page, and this is my chef page. So cuisine here would be further down on the page, and if I wanted to link to my chef page here, I would link to this other page. So here you have 3 items, and one is the home page itself, one is linking further down in the page, and one is linking to a different page. So you can mix and match when you are manually managing pages. So one thing that Sparkle does not currently do is let you space items based on the word length. So in this case, it's not too apparent because the words are more or less the same length. But suppose this was, cuisine slash food, maybe. Now this word is or this menu text is much wider than the others. But let's see if you can see this if I add a fill color. As you see, these menu items, the individual menu items, are all the same width. So this creates an odd spacing here, because if chef was also long, say R great chef, you see here the spacing between these 2 items would be different than the spacing between these 2, and this doesn't look great. This is, it mostly works, or it can work, if the space difference is not too big and you have this visual cue where one item ends and the other begins. But if you have a transparent background, then you only see a different space, which is not ideal. So the way to solve this is actually pretty straightforward, and is the Sparkle way, which is to compose items the way you want. So I'll just press Command D to duplicate the menu, and then remove a couple items from this one, and then remove this one. Actually, let me first duplicate this again. So I remove that one from here, and remove that one from here. So now I still have 3 menu items, which they behave like a normal menu items, but they are individually controlled, so I can visually align them the way I like them to be. So I could make this slightly wider, I could make the home one slightly narrower, and this one, just to have the edge from the word to the outside boundary be more or less the same. And I can even have them snap one to the other, so they are mostly like if they were a single menu, except now the spacing is manually controlled. Let's make this a little bigger maybe. And so they are, the spacing is visually more pleasing, and their highlight is closer fitting to the word size. So the reason I split these up is because our inspiration image here has the logo in the center, the restaurant logo, which is something I wouldn't be able to do if I had a single menu item. So I might as well break it up. And so let's see, I'll figure out something to placed there. These are all a bit too big now, so I'll just quickly group them and make them smaller. Oops, that's the next bug. Make them slightly smaller here. And also make this smaller, and this is a quick tip here is, so I'll group these. Quick tip here is to copy the style and paste the style. Yeah, paste the style here. So now I can align these here and make it, have to work them a bit. So these are still undetermined. And this is a space for our logo, so I can drag in, for example, this restaurant SVG. It's black, so I'll just, I should, edit this in an image editor or a vector editor. In this case, I'll just hack it by making say make this a square and put a circle behind it. So I'll make this 50 by 50. Make it a circle. There. And put it behind. And make that slightly smaller. So this is our restaurant logo in the center. And these are our left menu items, and these are our right menu items. So we'll take care of these later, or just leave them like they are for the time being. Go back to our inspiration here. So they used a huge image here, and that's, I like websites which are built like that. These are, they are very immersive, so your site visitor is grabbed by the great photography. So I'll pick one of these images here, see which one I could use. These are the cert images. Maybe I need a complete meal, like this one could work. I got these images from unsplash.com. Of course, if you are building a website for a shop, you should probably use images from your shop or your client's shop. Anyway, there's many images, stock images here, which you can use to make a mock-up image for a client. So I'll drag this in. I want to make it a white box, so I have to add the white box first. And then always remember this, to set the background color for your boxes. If you fill them with an image, to set the background color to the same color, the box fill color to the same color as the page background color. So when the site first loads and the image isn't downloaded yet, the user doesn't see, the site visitor doesn't see your temporary whatever default color instead of the image. Of course, when you load it on your own browser, you have loaded it so many times that the image is cached, so you don't see the background color. So I guess one trick is also to experiment and test your site by clearing the cache. So I'll set the image here, and I can at this point drag it in here and stretch the image to fill. This is our scroll location for our chef page. So this is a nice image which will make it make your site immersive, and you can see in the preview here it's already interesting. I guess if you want to put a title here, this might be a bit too visible. If I type some text over here, what can we call it? Happy restaurant. Make this our happy restaurant. It's kind of hard to make the text stand out here because the image behind it is visually noisy, so there is no. It's hard. I mean, you can perhaps make it white text. It's still not too visible. So there is a couple different things you can try here. One is to make the background blurred, and so this already uh, removes all the hard edges from inside the image, so it makes your text which has hard edges more visible. So this is one solution, which is a start. It's not ideal. It's still a bit hard to read. So another thing you do is you add a darkening of the, or tinting of the background image. This is again in Sparkle done by composing different elements which are available. So I'll just make a box which is just as exactly covers the image, and I'll pick a color. Now the color picker here, I switch to the current color, so I'm not changing the color of any element, and making this perhaps gray, and then making you see the reducing the opacity. You see the box blends in with the background, and so now the background is in front of the text as well. So as soon as I send it behind the text, you can see the food image in the back. This is a bit overdone perhaps, so I think I would rather have this be more neutral black, but remove some more fill color, some more opacity, and while viewing it in Sparkle makes it visible. I think nothing beats the live preview, because you can see, you can have a real size impact of what the image will look like. I think perhaps we can try removing some blur from the background image here. But when I click here, I select the box. So one trick here is to right click and select the box. Oops, that's the other one. So that's a slight help to select the element behind the one which you get with first click. So here I can try disabling the blur, and it's not too bad. We can perhaps play around with this and make this fill color fill a bit more, so you still have a good sense of what the image is, and the text here stands out. Or another option is to make a gradient here, so this should still also not be fully opaque perhaps, but you have a variable opacity going down, so this makes it punchy, contrasted, and interesting. There's a few tricks you can play here to make this text more visible. Another one is that I probably wouldn't pick a very decorated or overly curly fonts, but you can there's many fonts, like title fonts here, which you can pick, which are probably standing out more if they are more black. Like this one is very black, so try that one. Black meaning very filling. Of course, the font color is still going to be the one you pick here. So one mistake which is very frequent is to just work with a body style, and this makes it harder to later make your site multi-device, because Sparkle preserves the font size for a style. Each device has its own. So if I'm working with body here, it will be hard to apply my font and have it stick on a different device. So since I've started with this already, I'll just make a new one and call this my title. So one thing that you should have here is for search engine optimization purposes, or SEO, is to have this your title be H1. So in Sparkle, this H1 goes inside the HTML code, doesn't go in CSS. Most of these other properties go in CSS. This is something you shouldn't really care about, but it's important to know because this can only be set. This can only have one setting across all devices because it's the multi-device feature is done by differentiating CSS, and not HTML cannot be changed in different devices. So anyway, for SEO purposes, you should have one H1 title and or paragraph, and this will be something which is considered very relevant by search engines. So generally speaking, it will be your your main lead keyword you are looking to promote with the website. So in this case, it could be the restaurant name would be a pretty good choice. So let's fill out our. So our chef was in the next page. So our section here was cuisine. This is linked to this anchor. So anchor is the HTML name for a scroll location. So I'll just call this cuisine. This name here ends up in your web page address. So let's see if I have it here. View. I have a status bar on. So if as soon as I hover with the mouse here, you'll see in the corner down here, you see it says # cuisine, and that's the name I just entered there. So it would scroll down there, but the page is not long enough yet. So I'll make this page longer. I'll just drag this down a little bit and put a placeholder footer here, and we'll fill it in later. This is going to be our page footer. So now if I go to preview, you see it scrolls up here because we have the bottom of the page with the footer in place. If the page is not long enough, of course the browser cannot scroll. So we have our main navigation here. We have our hero image, and let's go on and fill in our cuisine and food. Let's see if I get some inspiration for what we should put here. So I guess we can put a few images, and one option is adding a gallery. I think in Sparkle parlance, a gallery is this image sliding device. This lets you add multiple images, and they will. See, so this is our inspiration here. I'll just show you quickly by dragging a bunch of images in here. So this is our gallery, and that's a good way to show many images, but I think what we actually want to do in this case is give an overview, and not really. This is perhaps something which is more for when your main feature is showing some photography, and so each photo needs to be pretty big. But of course, you can use it just as well. I mean, my taste in this case would be to pick a few different dishes here and drag them in as. Let's see. Let's make the image fill, and so I'll just make a few. I guess I want to reproduce something which was down here, which is what a few images, and I don't mind the background actually. So let's try and do that. Let's add the background, and I think I have a good image for that. Again, make the background color for the box here transparent or white, and send an image, and then I'll grab this one, which is interesting, this fun image. Might not be the most appropriate here, I guess. And stretch, and send it to the back, And perhaps I'll just copy this box here over it, and just to make it fit in the background there. And a few images here, so just duplicate this one. Actually, I wanted 4 here, so I'll quickly group them. Make the group smaller. And group, and the 4th one. So they're not. How do I do this? I use the equal size here. I actually would like this to be slightly bigger, so then I can do that. Make the equal width and equal height, and align top, and distribute again. So now I have 4 images, and I can drag 4 image placeholders, I guess. And I can drag in a few more food photos. So I've got a burger here, I've got a steak. I'm getting hungry. And let's see, these are, actually this is my inspiration image. Let's see, I have a drink here. And I'm keeping these for the chef. And I have a few other clean background images I like here, so I'll put this one as food. So the intent here is to make this be more or less a full browser page full, which makes you land on a page which fills the whole browser height. When you scroll down, now I made this a little too short, so I'll fix that by making it taller again. Setting the overlay to cover. So as you see now, it's a bit bigger, and that makes it more immersive. As the visitor scrolls down the page, they have a full view. And then I'll move these down near the bottom here. And I guess I'll add another text box here. I'll probably set style now that I remember now. Use a style, and that I want a different one, so different font. And I guess I also want a different color. So food is served, centered, and I guess what we could have on this side here is a text block with body text. We should make body text white, and explaining food things. So it's centered here. So this is our site, and clicking on this scrolls down. This is our scroll bar. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's there's a slight white pixel, so I'll just drag it up a little bit. Okay. So click here, and it goes into this other section. This is interesting and immersive, I think. So our chef is our 3rd item, and goes to the other page, which is empty currently. So this is another thing I wanted to show you. This is our header, which should probably be common to all pages. So select all items in here, and group them. So I pressed Command G, which is arrange group. So now I have a group here, so it makes no difference in my previous site. But the difference here is that it's easier, it's more practical to show this on all pages. So now when I go back to preview and I navigate to our Great Chef, it goes to an empty page, but it has a common heading up here. So our chef page, what can we do here? chef images. I'm going to take too much time doing this. We can try with a slightly different style here. An image on one side and another on another. And make perfect vertical spacing for that. And some we can duplicate body text. We call it our chef text. Chef text will actually be black because we have a white background here. So this is some details about our chef. A common element on websites is, of course, the heading here, which we now have across multiple pages. So we can go to our preview and click on our chef, see our text, and click back and go here. So something we would probably want is, which would be nice to have, is perhaps have this bar here stick at the top of the page. So the way to do that is to click stick to top here, and that does the trick. So now you have a bar at the top of the page here, and when you switch to page chef, it also sticks to the top, and your navigation is always here. So I guess there's a problem here. Let me see. Save this file. Messed up. So another common element on your web pages, of course, is the site footer. So I'll just put in some placeholder text here and call this my footer text. So your footer text might have a quick synopsis or about, and perhaps another useful thing is to have a bunch of links, which we can quickly build with a menu here, and of course it will not be made from pages because that doesn't make any sense. So we can have a bunch of items here which are different links to different things. So again, we have text white here. So again, what you have here is navigation, which should be common to all pages. But what happens here is that if I make this again, I make this a group to show the multiple pages. If I click on show on all pages, as I did for the header, what happens is this chef page became much longer. So that's not what I want. I want this page to be shorter, but I can't actually make this shorter because this element here is in the same position in all pages. So this is why Sparkle has this setting, which is follow footer. Now if I make this follow footer, what happens is the position of this element here of this group is no longer based on the top of the page, so it's not at a fixed vertical position compared to the top of the page. It is compared to the bottom, so now I can drag the bottom of the page up. So I can make this footer page shorter and have a common footer element in all pages at a different vertical position. So as you can see now, this as I'm dragging it up slowly, I guess zoom out here to have better control here. So what's going on here is now this page here has is slightly shorter than my restaurant page, even though my restaurant page is still needs to be fleshed out. But I have the the flexibility and the ability to add anything to the footer here. So my footer now has this common image. So let's say I'll just fill in the footer for the heck of it. Oops, another another black SVG on the black background. So I'll hack it again and make this white on the box. Doesn't make any sense. It's fun. So and the same thing. Oops, I have a different vertical position here. So there you go. So now you have a footer section, which is common to all pages. It has a different vertical position. This was an important thing to have, and it's somewhat confusing to users because it's tricky, can be tricky to set up. It's straightforward really, but sometimes when you have a multi-device setup, what happens is your footer will be placed in a position on the scaled device, which is very tall, and so will push the footer all the way down, and it can be hard to hunt it down. So I think we could maybe use a few of the images we have there and add another section. So let's call this services. This must be a white body, so let's call this our heading. What was this? This was our heading. We didn't apply. So heading here now is white, and so I'll duplicate this and make this black heading. And so this is our services section, where we can still try to make this a screen full, and actually we should hook it up here in the menu. So let's add services and remove our home menu, and make this link to our main page, add a new scroll location. So here it is. Scroll down, scroll. Here we go. Services. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them, so feel free. So now that we've added services, let's check preview quickly. As you see, it scrolls down here. It doesn't scroll exactly at the same position. That's because we have, in our Sparky project, in our canvas, you see the scroll location is this position here, but when we click here to scroll, the distance to the header is smaller than this white space we have here. That's because the black bar here is not accounted for in scroll positions. So what we can do here is place the scroll position slightly higher up. So when we click to scroll, it goes to a more balanced position. Let's drag in a few images here. We use that. So I guess these as images. And a quick way is to just make them the same size. Space them out, align them. It's already something which is. You can group them so the group can be centered as a whole. And now you could write a few words below here. But, this is what our services looks like, which is also interesting. So next step is to make this work with mobile devices as well. So we'll have a bit of a tricky situation with the header here because we made it out of a few different parts, so it might not work great. And we will also have to ensure that our footer works across devices, and So let's see how to do that. Let's see if I'm sticking to a plan. What was our plan here? I guess there's a few things we'll see next time. So let's add our. So the way to add devices in Sparkle is to first start by building out your main device. So we built our desktop layout here. You can start with a smartphone, would be the same, no difference. What happens is Sparkle Sparkle's canvas is fixed width, so but it has multiple layouts which are shown to the browser based on the browser width or device width. So if I go to my website, if I go to my restaurant website right now with a smartphone, I would see this desktop website scale down. As soon as I start adding devices, then smartphones or tablets will no longer do the automatic scaling, and I have to do it myself. So what I'm going to do here is add a portrait smartphone, and so this adds a new device layout, and all my elements here will be scaled down so that they fit within the smartphone boundaries. What I have to do is align them myself to the proper, reflow them and resize them so that they look pleasing and are proper on a smartphone. So I'll switch to smartphone here. You can see these lines on the sides here. This is where the device ends. So my layout has been made smaller. This is, it works. It's not useful though because this is 18 points. It was 55 on desktop. Menu text here is tiny. It's 6 points. So what we actually want to do here is rework the layout so that it works for mobile. And what we need to do here is move items down on the page so that we can make space for a better heading. And so I'll make this slightly taller. Actually, I'm resizing the whole group here. Just resize the background. So what happened here is I clicked once on the selected group, and that selected the box background. So I'm just resizing that, which seems more sensible. And I think I'm just gonna rebuild the mobile menu just for mobile, so I can make a single one, which is the classic hamburger style. And so I'll just hide all these on mobile. So I'll just unselect show on this device, and they'll be hidden. And then I can add a new menu. Okay, so what happens here is Sparkle is informing me that this item I just added, has been added to a position on the desktop PC page, which is something which I haven't done myself. It has been done automatically, so I need to check that. So the menu here and move it. I have to move it to front. Actually, I probably did not add it inside the group here, I guess. Is this inside the group? So delete it, select the group once, and add the menu. And I'm thinking it's not been added to the group again. So this is the group, inside the group. Okay, so now it's been added inside. Once again, I don't want the menu to be automatically handed, and I want to have a hamburger menu. This is a common request. How do you change this image here? Well, you just click on the top level menu here, and you can replace the image. I'll just leave this gray one for now. That makes sense to change it. And once I'm inside the menu here, I can choose the orientation, so I'll probably do that. And I'll make my menu. This is where the device ends. I'm zoomed in 175%. So I'll make my font size here perhaps 24. My filter white. Move the spacing here. And make this as wide as a smartphone, so 320. Okay, so this is my mobile site heading. If I switch back to PC, you see I have this menu here, which is only used for my mobile device. So I'll do the same thing I did previously, and so I hid this navigation here on mobile, and so this is the mobile navigation, and I'll hide it on desktop. So now I have two separate menu systems, but this works just fine. And, okay, so this is oops, this is my company restaurant icon, and that's the mobile navigation. Move it all the way to the left. So right now, as you see on my preview, I'm seeing the desktop device, and that's because by default, or actually I changed the default. Sparkle by default shows only the current device being edited, because otherwise, you make change and you see the layout of the other device, and that would be confusing. So if I want to see the preview of my mobile device here, I'll enable preview the current device only. Now you can see what the mobile would look like. So I don't like the menu here overlapping there, so just make this slightly taller like that. And so now the menu starts down here. I guess from a smartphone point of view, I would like this to fill the screen, so I'll change how that works by moving this down and making this quite a bit taller. Remember, it's two layers, my background image, which isn't represented very well here because it will be stretched horizontally on a smartphone. You have to think. If you enable Safari's developer menu, which I can do here now, I can switch Advanced Show Develop menu. The develop menu gives you this responsive design mode. So now you can see this is what an iPhone will actually look like, and this is what the viewport would be more or less. So I probably need to stretch the picture vertically more if I want to make it immersive. So I'll move this down more. And I'm going into footer territory here, so I have to move the footer down. And stretch this vertically more. So let's see what's going on here now. This is more interesting now, even though I don't have much text to fill here. But let's leave it like that for now. Make this more centered, and the font perhaps on 2 lines like that. Okay, so this is my smartphone view. This menu looks a bit misaligned. Let's make it vertically more aligned like that. So I have my automatically added menu items here. So what I would have to do here is add. This is a link. Actually, this is a link to the chef page, so we can do that and perhaps change the text to great chef. And then we can add that was. And this is how we build our navigation separately for mobile compared to our desktop. So switching over, let's see. I won't do. I mean, it's taking quite a while now to do the responsive for this, so I'm not sure I'll do it in its entirety, but let's see, I can do a little more. I want to show you adapting the footer. So move these down again. And, what we want to do with this kind of layout here is, it really depends on what your intent with the design is. In this case, you could either show some images and hide others, or what we could do here is perhaps place them to fill the space. So maybe make it 2 by 2. So let's try doing that. So I have selected one, and I'm going to make the others the same height and width. This is reflowed with that. So right now we have this, and we have this page. See, the stick to top still applies on mobile. And so now this is a body text, and it has a 5 size. So what I'll do here is I'll make it visible. 15, check in here, and 5. So now I have to just make this text box bigger to fit. And to make this section slightly taller. So that color, and then something like that. So this is going to be our mobile layout. We can make that text bigger. I'll leave it for now. So lastly, let's add our footer. Sorry. So our footer, remember, is common. Oh, let's check out the chef page. As you see, it's the common navigation. Since it's common to the home page, it also became bigger with the rest of the page. So we should probably do something about that here as well. And just quickly showing it's it's a bit of a mechanic job here, except for text, and text here is 5 pixels. So again, I'll set it to 15, 16 works. And as soon as I apply changes, it changes for all the other text blocks. So like that. And I need to grab these 4 these here and do the same for them. So I'll just leave them like this for a time, and you get the idea. So now this is quickly adapting our layouts. So let's do the same for the side footer here, and then we're done. So select the black background inside, make text big here, also 15 pixels. It's more or less the same. Okay, so the design isn't entirely complete, but it's getting there. And so now we have a website which is almost responsive. Let's see what happens. This is not exactly multi-device yet. If I were to watch it, if I were to view it on a desktop, I would see. Okay, so now Sparkle is showing me. Oops, the menu here is below navigation, so I have to click on the top bar here and make it go to front. Now the menu is above. So Sparkle is now showing us just one device, so that's why we're seeing the incorrect. So I'll preview all devices, and now you see that the layout switches. So this is what happens when you view it in different devices. You make this narrower, and so why isn't it adapting better? It's jumping straight to the mobile layout and not showing anything in between. Well, that's because we only filled in the PC device and the smartphone device. And so maybe you're thinking, well, I have to do all that work again for each of these other devices. Actually, it's not necessary, because Sparkle, when you press the plus sign, and only at that time, it resizes the layout to the closest device. So if I press the plus here, it will make this layout slightly smaller, and if I press the plus here, it will make this layout here slightly bigger. So the combination of these, and I can add the super wide desktop PC as well, combination of these is such that this is our widest layout. Then if I make it narrower, it becomes our probably tablet device, and then it becomes our wide landscape smartphone, and then our portrait smartphone. And you could, in theory, go in here and go to our landscape smartphone and tweak the layout if you needed. Maybe change the font size or alignment or something, but in general, it's not really necessary. So all you need to do is create your main PC layout, your smartphone layout, and everything in between.